I have completed Assassin's Creed Shadows and played around 50 hours, and I'm going to share 5 massive tips and tricks that I wish I knew before I started, so you can have the easiest and most fun experience with your time in Japan. Don't worry, there won't be any story spoilers within this video. A big thanks to Ubisoft for providing me early access, and with that being said, let's just jump straight on in. Now the first thing we're going to look at is exploration, as not only is Japan an absolutely massive and dense map, but Shadows has leaned more into games like Star Wars Outlaws in terms of its exploration and how you work out where your next objective is. Rather than your objective simply being go to this exact location as stated, you are teased with clues about where you need to head to next, forced to work out your next location on the map. However, there are certain ways you can make your exploration a lot easier. Now firstly, and this isn't something I'd recommend unless you're really struggling, you can turn on guided exploration mode, where quests and targets will have their icons appear on the world map, without the need for investigation. However, the way Shadows is supposed to be played is by utilising the Scout module, who can help you locate objectives via the spy network. If you have a good idea of where your objective is but you can't find it, simply head to your map, use one of your spies, and on Xbox controller that's tapping X, and they'll be able to tell you if your objective is in the circular area that you've chosen to view. Now in terms of getting to your location, if you're lost you can turn on the Pathfinder feature, which will cause a guiding line to appear on your screen, which you simply follow to whatever is highlighted or your current marked objective. I found myself actually doing this way more than I expected, as Japan is super dense in certain areas, so running through forest isn't something recommended, and it's always best to follow the main road as it's not only simpler, but that's where you'll find items of interest, side objectives and more. It's also worth noting that sync points in this game are more important than previous games, as not only will they then allow you to fast travel to that location, but you can also use the observe mechanic to look in any direction, reveal mission targets, chests and collectibles in the area, highlighting them with a glow. Now you will have a small number of scouts once you start the main game, but you can also find more simply by stumbling across them during your playthrough and finishing a short quest, most likely saving them, and then an option will appear of them offering to join you as a scout. Now the more scouts you have the better, as they can only be used once and will then replenish upon the change of each season, but you can also fast track this by heading to one of your safe houses, known as a kakurega, and spending a small amount of coin to bring them back one at a time. Now these kakurega are safe houses that you will discover as you explore the world, acting as a network of secondary hideouts for you and your allies. After a quick payment to unlock them, you'll be able to check your storage or stow equipment, refill your supplies, refresh your scouts as stated, and browse 4 types of contracts which change regularly, providing different rewards and resources. Completing these contracts will also allow you to unlock more scouts, as well as them also acting as fast travel points too, which is extremely useful, particularly when so many of the in-game fast travel points tend to be at the top of castles, surrounded by hundreds of guards. Not only are your scouts going to be able to help you with exploration, but they'll also be able to clear your wanted status if needed, but most importantly, also secure stockpiles located in wealthy areas, providing you more resources for you to build your hideout with, which we'll talk about now. Now your hideout, as expected, is where you and your allies hide out, allowing you to build your own sort of small village with resources that you'll gather throughout your time in Japan. However, this isn't simply just cosmetic, there are tons of reasons as to why your hideout is a little bit like your soul of the game. Now we've already mentioned the kakurega, and the one in your hideout is where you'll manage all the rest in Japan, but other important buildings include your forge, where you'll be able to upgrade your weapons and gear to improve its stats, as well as work on engravings which you can then add to gear to apply specific perks, as well as the addition of the transmog feature too. We also have a study which will allow you to purchase 2 additional scouts upon each upgrade, as well as widen the scout area circle when you're using them to search for objectives, so this is definitely useful. And there is also the addition of the stable too, allowing you to customize your horse's saddle, and as you upgrade it, the stable will also allow your scouts to be able to bring back even more resources. More minor buildings that are still of use include the Nando, allowing you and your allies to get a good night's sleep, thus lowering the costs of replenishing your scouts by 30%, as well as the gallery, allowing you to show off all your cool gear in one place, and giving the option of Yasuke and Naoi each having 4 different build choices. Finally, we have the dojo, and once you've recruited your first ally, you'll then be able to interact and manage your allies and their abilities from your Kakuregas across the map, as well as customize their outfits if you so choose. This leads me nicely on to the ally system. Now within your time in Japan, you have the opportunity to recruit 6 different allies who you can bring along with you to aid you throughout your playthrough. To do this, you'll have to sort of win them over or gain their trust to bring them onto your side, each of them with a pretty sizable arc too, just adding some extra playtime into your game, with some of them also having the romantic option too, which if you're like me, is an option I always tend to take. Essentially, during battle or even before, these work a little bit like your Hidden One chums in AC Brotherhood, in that you'll be able to bring them in briefly to fight or take out enemies for you, with each of them having their own unique set of abilities. So for example with Genajo, an ally good for distraction, his ability is to throw a startling projectile, perfect for then rushing up to an enemy and assassinating them. And you will even be able to upgrade your allies to a maximum of 3 times, so let's use Genajo here again as an example. Once upgraded, his next ability is passive, drawing the attention of an enemy about to detect you, with his next ability called Charming Presence, which will stop servants informing enemies of the crimes they might have witnessed you commit. You can, however, only equip 2 allies into your loadout, and of course there will be a cooldown in effect once you use them, so you will not only have to use them carefully, but also think about which allies are going to aid your playstyle the most. These are all attainable before really pushing into the crux of the main storyline too, so if you want to become as strong as possible and build up your own brotherhood, in Shadows known as the League by the way, that is entirely possible. There is quite a hefty level scaling system in Shadows, so gathering your allies is something I would recommend as soon as possible, and let's talk now about how you'll level up and what it means throughout the game. And by the way guys, if you are enjoying this video so far, then a like and hitting that subscribe button goes a long way to helping out my channel. Now as expected, yes, Naoi and Yasuke will be gathering XP, leveling up and getting stronger as they progress through Japan, and quite simply, by playing the game or eliminating key targets, you will earn something called Mastery Points. These are essentially how both Naoi and Yasuke will improve their abilities, with them each having 6 segments each and small upgrade trees within those segments. This includes each of their weapons, so for Naoi that's her melee weapons, the katana, kusarigama and tanto, her tools, and then passive traits and abilities in the shinobi or assassin tree. Some of these can be super useful, and we'll stick with Naoi here as our example, but in her assassin tree she'll learn the skill Double Assassinate, allowing her to kill 2 enemies at once with her tanto, the classic Assassin's Creed takedown. However, on the other side of this, which essentially works side by side with your mastery points, is your knowledge rank, basically splitting each of the mastery skills into tiers, so you can't just hop along to the end of the mastery tree right away. So if we look at Yasuke here and his long katana abilities, I'm currently on rank 3 knowledge, so I can't unlock any more skills with my mastery points until I move up to rank 4. To gain more knowledge ranks and access to more abilities, you'll have to complete side activities such as the Kujikura, Kata, Horse Archery, Kofun Temples, Shrines and Hidden Trails, which are all actually really fun and a nice break from the usual brutality of the game. Side missions are something you can't really ignore too much in Shadows, as the level scaling is pretty intense throughout, which we'll cover now. Now, if you don't know what level scaling is, this is very common in RPG games and basically means that different enemies hold different levels dependent on their location, meaning the same type of enemy in one location could literally be 10 times harder to kill on the other side of the map. Personally, I'm a big fan of this system as it means the game continues to be challenging the longer you play. However, this didn't exist in the earlier Assassin's Creed games and isn't necessarily to everyone's taste. In Shadows, level scaling is pretty intense, and after 10 hours or so of completing main missions, the next area I was sent to was way above my pay grade, and I had to go and do some side missions before I could actually complete it.
A few moments later.
A small tip of something I'd recommend you do first is a piece of side content called the Twisted Tree, which consists of assassinating a bunch of enemies who are all members of the same family. These all take place in Kyoto, the first big city you'll get to at around the 10-hour mark, each offering a decent amount of mastery points and XP for you to level up. But it'll also mean that Yasuke gets to unlock a bow and a tempo, his rifle, which I hadn't yet found during my travels at this point. This only takes around an hour in total too, so if you're thinking what piece of side content should I crack on with first, I couldn't recommend this more. Another piece of side content worth doing as soon as possible to level up fast includes Naoi and Yasuke's individual Kujikiri and Kata, not only offering a knowledge point for each completed, but also offering special missions that take Naoi and Yasuke back into their past, actually adding more info to the story. Side missions that feel like main missions and contribute to the overall story are always so great in my eyes, as it shows the care that has gone into the game and just fleshes out your whole experience. These Kujikiri and Kata missions are one of your largest sources of side content aside standard assassination side missions, and a big positive of the game in my opinion. Now, I've got some more exploring of Japan to do, but if you found this video useful and you want to know some more tips throughout the game, let me know and maybe I'll get round to making a more niche video covering some of the smaller but still important information that's worth knowing. And hey, if you're wondering what I think of Shadow's parkour, then why not watch my next video where I rank every single parkour system in the mainline Assassin's Creed games. I will hopefully catch you legends in the next one. Until then.